Hello friends, this is Self-Critical Automaton, the eternal spirit of the Roaring Twenties, and it is time for the next episode of Transistor, which I want to say is episode 5? It's kind of a trend with all of these videos that I just cannot for the life of me remember how many episodes I've done of a given series on any given time. You'd think I would check that before I start recording, but at this point it's a point of pride not to. So, as always, we're picking up exactly where we left off because this game doesn't really do kind of chaptery chunks. 74% good times is actually a pretty high ratio for outdoor seating.
I was just thinking about the first time we went to the canals.
Yeah, so it's never outright stated, but it's not exactly subtle that there's definitely perhaps more than just a friendship between Red and the boxer.
Coast is clear. So it's true. Red, let's go. While we still can.
Transistor Hall is gone. Administration scrambles to explain sudden disappearance of historic high-rise landmark. The ever-changing facade of Transistor Hall may be gone for good, as independent reports confirmed the entire structure has vanished. A 100-square block area surrounding the structure's location has been designated offline pending investigation as administrators conduct a thorough search of the premises. If you have information pertaining to this report, please contact your local administration. If anybody's reading this near Travis, and leave as soon as you can. I think I started to mention this
how many good drinking joints here?
on a previous episode.
Seaside.
All right.
Cloud Alley.
Nobody's proud of you for how many pubs you know.
All shut down.
2 times clip size. So I was saying previously that I enjoy how it's not entirely clear whether Red is thinking better of the things she said for some reason, or if she reckons that the initial things she says, it didn't happen in this instance, but quite often when you access those terminals, she will in fact self-censor and write something other than what she originally said. Is that because she's thought better of it for some personal reason, or is that because she's realised that the administration of the city will never let her say that publicly?
Snapshot.
After all, they took her voice. She's quite literally been silenced for speaking out against this administration, or, as she would have it, just making songs that she liked and not really understanding why it was taken as such a kind of a problem by the administration. But all the talk of taking things online or offline does make you wonder to what extent this world is anyway, one post-COVID coughing fit later, back to what I was saying, which is that I really enjoy narratives that are intentionally unclear as to how literal or how different their world is from ours. Is this a world which has in some way become digitized, where their technology has grown so indistinguishable from, their everyday lives that it's essentially become the fabric of the world they live in? Or is this a world that exists within the context of a simulation to begin with? A society that only exists within some kind of simulated computer network? Or, as I prefer to think of it, is this a world that simply operates on those rules? It looks to us as if it is, in fact, some kind of computer simulation, because that's how we think of it, because that's the context we have for these words and meanings. But these people, perhaps this is just the form of their world, perhaps this is just what it's like. This is the way the place that they live operates. The idea that areas can be taken on or offline, possibly that means something more akin to disconnecting it from the network so that whatever kind of virus is going on can't spread, but those places still physically exist, or perhaps they completely vanish. We know that the people in this city vote essentially on every single thing. From the colour of the sky to, well, the way it's structured, things that are added or removed. If that's the case, Perhaps they vote on it the entire fabric of its reality. What we'll find out later on is that the process is essentially the mechanism by which this world's fabric is altered.
You feel that?
So it's unclear whether that would mean this is some kind of universal force that exists within this cosmology, or whether that is something that was made by people to render a physical world into this sort of digital dreamscape. So I'm going to grab Get because I think it's really useful. It lets you reposition your opponents because it drags them towards you, but it also does more damage the further away you are from them. We also gained a new passive upgrade slot for somewhere or other. So the two new limiters available are one that makes the process respawn from cells faster, and one that loses some of your memory, which means that you can install fewer functions. I'm going to take the memory one because that's a lot more difficult to deal with, so it'd be good to get it out of the way early in the game rather than later in the game when the game will be obviously harder. I don't think I missed anything back here to grab or see or do. Nope, I don't believe so. So each of these functions that you can use with your transistor during combat, each of them has the trace of a person in it, which is what we've been reading periodically.
This is what the Camerata want our town to be.
But only a few of those actually come from us directly absorbing people.
I'll miss this place.
What we'll find out later on is that the Camerata have been disappearing people, anyone who's a threat to their regime or their plans for the city.
Going up.
So perhaps the functions that you unlock as you level up are you digging into the data stored in the sword already, the people who've already been disappeared.
Should be able to get him through here.
So I'll just take a second to rearrange these. So now that I've got them where I want them, let's check the story of this new person.
Bailey Gilland worked admin up in high-rise. That's a lot of privileged info.
Yeah, so even the Boxer is starting to put together as you look through these that these are all people who, for some reason or another, didn't fit into this society or were a threat to the machinations of the people who rule this society. I believe we've read through this already, and we haven't unlocked the rest of that. I think I'll read these as I unlock level 3 as we go. So, yeah, let's just check the limiters. Designation, young lady. Most embarrassing, though I must admit I can't explain this one's rather conspicuous appearance, specifically its resemblance to the body of a woman. Now, mathematically there's a chance this is coincidental, there is always a chance, but I find that hard to believe, and rather, I suspect the process is taking a bit of a liking to us. It started taking on some of our quirks, like how one might subconsciously assume the mannerisms of a friend. At any rate, this one is very unusual, very more so, and rather temperamental too, so I've yet to gain a sense for all her intricacies. Role Supervisor features fragmentation beam, cell incubator and self-copy systems, vulnerabilities, high-yield functions, and preferences, constant noises, people. I love the kind of, the little dating profile details you get at the end. Preference, cool, dark places. So, for one fight exactly, I will have this limiter set on, which is the Cheerleader limiter, because it's really difficult to play without too much memory. That's also why I want to get out of the way this early. So, let's head on.
Hope this works.
I love that it's much clearer here in High Rise, the influence of the Roaring Twenties on the visual designs of this game. This elevator could have dropped straight out of a New York skyscraper from the mid-20s or 30s. Obviously the Roaring Twenties was the last time that both Art Deco and Art Nouveau were very popular as aesthetic styles for use in the world. So it makes sense that a game that is so strongly 20s themed in its visuals would make use of that kind of referent. But it is interesting that despite how carefully sort of tailored the various aesthetics in this game are, its music is honestly kind of hard to describe. I don't know how I would call this music in genre terms, the various themes of the song. Like, it's kind of that ambiguous indie genre that literally everything is a part of. Now, one of the difficulties I've caused for myself here is that I decided to use Get as a damage-dealing power for this fight. Get only really deals its high damage at long range, so I've sort of made this unnecessarily difficult for myself. Still, I love these bouncing crashes, which are very useful. I also love the way that whenever we go into the turn timer, everything becomes really muted and echoey, and any stinging on the soundtrack becomes Red's quiet humming. Huh, see, it looked like the turn timer took into account the fact that I would miss both of those snapshots, second hits on the snapshot. It's curious. Yeah, see, it definitely said I would have killed one of those, and it absolutely did not die. But yeah, so the exposed girder work and the highly decorative detailing on the sides of this elevator are very, very, very New York in the Roaring Twenties. And it's an aesthetic that is pop culturally very well known, but also not that often engaged with in media like games. And I don't really have an explanation for why that is, or a pet theory or anything. I just think it's interesting. I do enjoy very much, Lee, that he sort of tells you off a little bit if you get overkills. Tells you to calm down.
Close one.
Tone it down a bit.
Almost there.
So this episode might be a bit longer than usual because I forgot to set a timer when I started, and I'm not sure exactly how long it's been.
Welcome home.
I know my practice run took me 15 minutes to get from the bottom of that elevator to a certain point ahead, because it doesn't match up exactly, so I allow myself a little bit of extra time just in case. But the fact that I do want to read out this as well makes that a little bit more difficult. So now that we've fully unlocked Lillian Platt's profile, let's see. Lillian Platt, age 33, gender F, selections, physics and negotiation, reasons cited, problem solving. I love the easy drapery of the costumes as well. That feels very, very 20s as well, although I'm less up on fashion than I am things like architecture. I mean, I love fashion, I'm just less knowledgeable about it. Not that I'm mega knowledgeable about architecture. That's besides the point, let's go. One of the preeminent scientific minds in Cloudbank, Miss Lillian Platt was the youngest ever individual to be elected chairwoman of the OVC board. Under her leadership, the number of OVC terminals in Cloudbank more than doubled, and the quality of the broadcast strengthened more than fourfold. However, she became the youngest ever individual to leave the post, as she tendered a resignation less than 2 years later to pursue extracurricular interests. In private conversations, several of her former colleagues indicated that Miss Platt left following a sudden disappearance of a close personal friend, Mr. Maximilius Darzi, who, according to official OVC transcripts, decided one day to move to the country. The loaded language of moving to the country, which both reflects a kind of Victorian and post-Victorian attitude of people being shuffled out of the public eye, ostensibly for their health, but so that their dangerous ideas don't catch on, and also the tradition of telling your children that their dog, which has unfortunately died, has in fact not died, but has moved to the country to play on a big farm where he gets to chase things all day and have a good dog life. Personal records show Miss Platt was preoccupied with certain rumours and urban legends concerning an unusual phenomenon sighted in the northwest corner of the city, and possible connections between this and the rash of disappearances of the past 12 months. For undisclosed reasons, she did not wish to involve the authorities. Her access to privileged OVC information may have contributed to her decision. Other records show she engaged in clandestine discussions with individuals claiming to have knowledge of the circumstances surrounding her friend's disappearance. She arranged to meet with them one night at an unmarked port near Goldwalk Bay. Miss Platt never learned the truth about her vanished friend, although, in a brief moment, she did learn the truth about the unusual phenomenon. To the Camerata, Miss Platt was more of a meddler than an opportunity, one of a scarce few who held some knowledge of their movements. When the time came, they made sure that they were nowhere near her last known location. According to the OVC, Miss Platt has been missing for more than 2 weeks, and the trail has gone cold. Incidents of foul play have occurred less than once a year on average for the past 10 years, but the authorities have not yet ruled it out in this case. So, it's very unambiguous by this point that, yeah, those guys are vanishing people. It's sinister, it's sus, we don't trust like that. So, let's just have a quick read of this limiter. Designation Cheerleader. Now these little fellows are quite remarkable really, and I believe they are key to how the process is able to construct or destruct as the case may be. Whatever they set their sights on, why it becomes impervious really, as though encased in thick glass. This way the process can just build and build and build, clean and happy, no distraction to the surrounding environments, no need for pardon or dust or anything like that. It all gets done in a hurry, but not in a rush, not in a rush. The work, it is immaculate. One of the things that I like about Royce's writing style is it also evokes this kind of rushed 20s, 30s kind of dialogue. Role maintenance features shield beam, reinforced shell, and power charger. Vulnerabilities unarmed. Preference high traffic areas and sunsets. I bet they also like long walks on the beach.
Where to?
So one of the other things we see up here on this rooftop is actually a lot more plant life than we've been seeing in a lot of the previous areas.
Stay.
Which kind of leads me to ask... how much of this stuff is real? We don't know the nature of this world with regards to that stuff. So we also don't know...
Stay.
Basically, as I was saying earlier, we kind of never find out, and I respect the game for refusing to engage with that side of things. This isn't about the world, it's about the people in it. It's a story about a whole bunch of weird fucked up shit that happens, and an understanding of...
No?
Yeah, see, I'm sure that the turn timer told me it would die from that. I still have not figured out what the difference there is. See, it did it that time.
Bad boy. We're back.
Anyway, as I was saying, this narrative has just a total disinterest in... not in world building, because it's very clearly a world that the people who created it had a clear understanding of how it works.
Used to be able to see the bay from here.
Which is the real sort of key to world building, if you ask me. But it simply does not focus on that. It presents this world to you as a whole piece of work. It is not here to explain to you how the world works. That is not what the story is about. So, I should have unlocked this one as well now. Preston Moyle, age 29, gender M. Selections, reflexes and machinery. Reasons cited, I want to go fast and go far. Cloudbank's racing circuit never knew the likes of Preston Moyle, who shattered speed records with aplomb 4 years straight. Credited with popularising the sport of 1200cc racing, Mr. Moyle gained celebrity, not merely for his exceptional riding ability, but also because he built his motorbikes with his own hands. Ever the thrill-seeker, Mr. Moyle became known for seeking out Cloudbank's remotest strips of road. Then one day, Mr. Moyle was altogether gone, having left all of his personal effects behind, save for his fastest bike. Tracking systems on his bike indicate that Mr. Moyle headed northwest across the canals late one night, averaging speeds 228% faster than the common standard. He was surely aware that the northwest corner of Cloudbank was offline pending investigation, and this was likely the appeal. Having his very own abandoned part of town to race through on his custom bike was Preston Moyle's dream, and the reality lived up to the dream, judging by the volume of Mr. Moyle's laughter recorded by his bike. However, the recording stopped abruptly. OVC first declared Mr. Moyle's absence a full 5 days later, so sure were his associates that he would return, like always. His close friends did not worry more than usual for 3 days, but for each subsequent day their worry increased on average of 84%. This quotient proceeded to spread to the numerous fans of Mr. Moyle's illustrious career, though administrators barred any appeals to search for him in an offline district. So the implication there is clear. The implication is that Mr. Moyle decided to go to a part of the city that was declared offline. So if that's where he was killed, what are the Camerata trying to hide in those places? What is it they don't want people to see? Is it perhaps that they don't want people to know the existence of the process? Or perhaps, more accurately, the way that the process works, the way that the city is rewritten. The people in the city know that the city is constantly rewritten. This will become clear later as we learn about some other characters. But if the Camerata wanted to keep the mechanism of that change secret, then perhaps that is how they would do it. And Moyle made the mistake of getting in the way in so doing. Yep, so all of the rest of these are just waiting to be put into passive upgrade slots. We will unlock another one of those soon, so it'll get a bit faster. One of the problems I had the first time I played through this game was that I simply didn't understand properly the way that the stories unlocked. I thought you had to do a certain amount of combat as each one in order to unlock it, not that one single battle
Cleaning up the streets.
is enough to unlock the information for that one particular
Might as well
slot.
stop in.
Vacancy rate 100%. No shit, really?
Best view in town.
Apartment 3, tenant alias, Red. So that is actually her name. It's not just what we are calling her, but like with the Boxer, that we don't know their actual name.
It's strange coming here. Like this. Can't imagine what it's like for you. Well, at least Junction Jan's delivered. Sea Monster fresh from the bay. Flatbread delivery still going strong. Not so bad when it's cold. Not that I know anymore. Help yourself, I'm good. Locked yourself out. How are you gonna... Oh.
I love that quiet implication as he realises that she's not intending
It
to
all looks
ever
fine
come
from
back.
up here.
How are you going to get back in? I'm not. I'm done with this. And so are you, because you live in a sword now. Anyway, that is going to be all from me for today. I'm sorry if this overran a little bit. I hope you came with me all the way anyway. I'll catch you later. Bye! If you like this, you can also follow me on Twitter for updates, stream announcements, and one-tweet micro-reviews, or why not donate to me via Patreon or Ko-fi, or just share my work. Thank you so much for watching.